From the infamous Illuminati to the modern Freemasons, the world is fascinated with secret societies. Tales of child sacrifice, world domination, and dark dealings with extraterrestrials are all paraded before us as truth. From angels and demons to the Da Vinci Code, one author at least has made an incredible living out of the whole world of conspiracies. The New World Order, famously penned by the science fiction writer H.G. Wells, has become a reality in the minds of millions, and today its leaders are even believed by some to be reptilian shapeshifters. The massive amounts of information set before us now on the World Wide Web may be spreading further and faster than ever before, but the belief in a powerful and secret ruling elite is nothing new. In fact, secret societies have been around almost as long as man. The early Christians, for instance, were a secretive cult themselves, undermining the governments of church and state. They adhered to secret forms of communication, had rituals, and were aggressive in their rise to power, spreading the word of their God far and wide. It takes generations, but a secret society here can be proven to have influenced our culture, our beliefs, and to have eventually grasped power itself. This pattern can easily be found in many other forms, such as Islam, the Roman and Greek empires, revolutionary Russia, and many more. In order for us to truly comprehend the whole picture, we have to stand back from history, religion, and political beliefs. We have to be neutral, neither fulfilling some fantasy that Blofeld is sitting in a large metallic room stroking a white cat and plotting our doom, nor being so naive that we do not believe men in power grouped together. Men have always grouped together for strength. It is an evolutionary device and a powerful energy within us. So also do greed, envy and lust surge through our veins, and to deny them is to deny our nature. But to understand them and find balance in strength and compassion is a virtue. One of the most confusing elements for any researcher coming to the world of secret societies afresh is the dualism they discover. On the one hand, the researcher will uncover ancient esoteric teaching passed on from one to another for generations. On the face of it, this teaching appears worthy and holds great psychological and spiritual truths. But then we also find that these secret societies have also been implicated in some bloody and awful periods in human history. We appear to have found a paradox, and splits then occur, not just within the societies themselves, but in those researching them. Following many years of research into the mind of man and the history of his actions, I am of the opinion that this paradox can be explained simply. It is the nature of man, emerging or manifesting itself within the group. All men are divided within themselves, so our ancient texts and even our modern psychologists tell us. This division is communicated to the wider human body, the society. This is the reason that Democrats and Republicans who both want similar ends, find themselves on opposite sides of the political divide. In such divisions in our society, we see the duality of the human mind revealed before us in often graphic terms. Secret societies gather these divisions together. After all, Democrats and Republicans are Freemasons. Secret societies are no different to any other group in our world. They have a hierarchy of control. They have community-spirited events and rituals. They hold a series of belief systems just as any religion or political party. But the big difference is that they keep their hierarchy, events, rituals and belief systems a secret. They hide them in code, cipher and symbolism, and it has been this way for millennia, for it is also a part of our nature. This is the true power base of the world's secret societies, that they understand our nature, our minds, our yearnings, and they utilise this knowledge for whatever ends they currently see fit, just as any good religion or government has done for centuries. Such knowledge has been handed down within the group ever since it was discovered, but other forms of knowledge were also passed along. The wisdom of the stars has found a life outside of the groups as astrology, and yet this was originally the knowledge of navigation, time and measurement. Such knowledge was immensely powerful for millennia and a closely guarded secret. Many of the symbols we see in secret societies today can be shown to relate entirely and originally to the Sabiists or star worshippers of ancient times. It was the stars and planets that guided them safely to wherever they needed to go. It was the sun that gave them day, and the moon lit up the night. By knowing the progress and position of the heavenly bodies, man could measure time and distance. To ages that did not have the clock, satellite guidance systems and cheap flights, these were matters of survival, and because of this, they were jealously guarded and secret groups emerged. A device was needed for man to measure, and he ingeniously developed many things. One of these was the staff, and this had become a symbol today of the wizard or wise one. Seen in the hands of the druid, the priest, the augurs, and in all manner of ancient depictions, the staff is a marker for us today of one who in the past held great knowledge. Such knowledge was in the hands of those who researched it, discussed it, and tested it. These were people in ancient times who needed time to consider these things. They needed to be free of the usual day-to-day act of surviving, and so they were special people, set apart from society as a whole and housed in comfortable surroundings. The life of the community depended on these shaman and wise ones. These were the priests, casting their gaze towards the heavens, predicting events, guiding the people. For they had the knowledge of the heavenly host. They communicated with the messengers of the gods, the angels, or even our ancestors. folklore, fables and legend have since erupted around these special people. Today, we can believe almost anything is true of them, rather than see the basic physical realities of life. The truth is that these early people were very clever and very in tune with nature and its measured cycles. Their knowledge was so powerful that tribes would often fight to steal one another's holy men. And so we see emerge from the mists of time another strand of mighty men. These men were essential for the progress of the great knowledge, for they were responsible for protecting the thinkers. What emerged was a warrior brotherhood dedicated to defending the peaceful brothers who were the wise men of the tribe, holding special and unique esoteric knowledge as if they were empowered by the gods themselves. Yet again, around this warrior brotherhood would wind the serpentine spiral of symbolism, which in later years would hide their true purpose. The eventual knowledge of these groups would be deemed sacred and protected. Whether it was practical methods of survival, navigation, measurement, or psychological and spiritual inner wisdom, it would become the ground plan for future secret societies, and as populations grew, it would bestow great power and danger upon them. This is the story of the groups who have guarded this sacred knowledge for centuries. From ancient times, there have been tribal priests and warrior elites to protect them and the people in general. In Persia, the Magi watched the stars and worshipped the sun, just as in Europe the Druids were the wise priests. In Egypt, Greece, Rome, India, and almost anywhere else we can imagine, the same process is to be found. A priest worshipping, mapping and measuring via the heavenly host, and a warrior class offering protection. There is nothing secret in this system. It has been in existence for an awfully long time, but it is secretive. The priesthood enacted strange and powerful rituals that were strange and peculiar because nobody else was allowed to understand what they were doing. Garbed in myriad symbols, the holy men and women were magical walking talismans, building and maintaining massive power bases. As their strength grew, so too did their warrior brethren, and as time moved on, their symbols became more and more obscure. There was always an opponent, and not always from outside of the immediate tribe. The main adversary was often the king or queen, who throughout time, from Akhenaten to Henry VIII, have done battle with the priesthood. The royal claimed divine power in the name of God, and yet the priesthood were the voice of God. Somehow they had to work in unison, and around them grew intermediaries. These were very much like our modern day civil servants, running to and fro between departments. These civil servants eventually became more and more powerful in themselves because they had knowledge from both sides and could easily manipulate the events of state. A secret society was born. Based in the knowledge of rulership from the kings, the immense power of the priesthood, and with the ability to manipulate the military, these civil servants rapidly became the real power base. And it was from within this middle ground that the secret services also emerged. Gods came and went. Kings and lineages died out. Political leaders are voted into and out of office. But the civil service always remains, with their very own bloodlines continuing the family business. The pattern of rule the world over is little different to this triple-headed monster. We have a leadership which from the earliest times was based on the royal dynasties, but in modern times has become more secular and politically based. And we have the intermediaries of the civil servants, including those within the legal, financial and administrative systems. Somehow, all of these elements had to work together. Somehow, a common ground had to be found, and it was. We saw earlier how the origins of many of the symbols found within the world of secret societies originated from Sabiism, or star worship. The name Tzaba, in fact, derives from an armed troop of Chaldea, and may mean many baptisms. They worshipped the pole star as the creative principle, which they called IAO, a device later to be found within Christianity, and according to Freemason, secret society expert, and self-proclaimed Antichrist, Aleister Crowley, also means Isis, or nature, ruined by Apophis and resurrected by Osiris. A claim with no basis whatsoever, but utilised by Crowley as self-propaganda, making him appear highly knowledgeable. From this very early time, the worship of the stars was akin to and mingled with nature worship. As part of this, rocks and stones were worshipped and used as both products of the Earth Mother and as gifts from the skies as meteorites. The altar stone, the column, the pedestal were all forms of the divine, and eventually large Bethels, or houses of God, were erected across the world, tapping the divine energy. Chaldea, Asia, Egypt, Africa, Greece and Europe were all utilised in this massive and ancient construct of the divine energy. Smaller rocks or meteorites were fashioned into the images of the gods and were known as the Kabiri, the wandering gods. Eventually, this symbolism would fall into alchemy as the philosopher's stone, with many psychological and spiritual additions and meanings. All these gods were in truth representations of the god of light, known from the Egyptian priest to the Druid, and which later became Lucifer, the fallen meteoric angel of light himself. They numbered 7 like the planets Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, Venus, Mercury and the Moon, a number which also related to the number of colours which make up white, the colour of purity. Little wonder that the number 7 should become immensely important to later adherents of the arcane. In truth, Even the mother of Christianity, Judaism, was awash with the worship of stones and stars, worshipping the Bethel stone in the Temple of Jerusalem as the Messiah itself. These Bethel or Betel stones were to be found far and wide, and were often encased in arks made of holy wood from nature, symbolising the stairway or ascent into the heavens. At the Kaaba in Mecca, the holy meteorite is sacred to Islam to this very day. The spread of Sabiism was so successful that traces of it can still be found within modern secret orders. In the Martinist order and the Rosicrucians, certain grades are still known as Elohim Sabaoth, the deity who is invoked and adored. The adherent says, "I am the soul of fire, pouring forth its beams upon the lower world, life-giving, light-producing." In fact, in their magical ceremonies, all modern secret occult orders are said to awaken and reawaken powers by means of invoking planetary and elemental spirits using potent divine and secret names. The truth of this is simple. Man believes he is connected to nature via the divine light within himself. This divine within is the spark of light he must awaken in order to truly experience connection to nature itself. Over the course of time, the mind-bending altered states of consciousness required to raise this energy were employed and kept strictly secret. As one Rosicrucian and Freemason put it, "There is in nature one most potent force, by means of which a single person who would possess himself of it and know how to direct it could revolutionize and change the whole face of the world. This force was known to the ancients, and the secret is possessed by the secret schools of the present day. It is a universal agent whose supreme law is equilibrium, and whereby, if science can but learn how to control it, it will be possible to send a thought in an instant around the world, to heal or slay at a distance, to give our words universal success, and to make them reverberate everywhere." This kind of mystical language speaks of power unknown by most ordinary people. It has been used and abused to entice people into the fold and to control them for millennia. The physical actions required to attain this so-called special power reveal simple hallucination and drug-induced trance states, not physical and scientifically provable natural phenomena. It is a control of the mind, and subtle suggestion to the initiate reinforces beliefs in hidden secret Tibetan masters or great white brotherhoods. Intoxication, rhythmic movement, meditation, fasting, sex and pain were all utilised to force the mind to alter its state of consciousness. This is a universal device that spread across the world and is found in most secret societies, either practiced or symbolic in rituals. From the drunkenness of Dionysia, the orgies of Menades, the shedding of blood widespread in Asia Minor, and the Gauls mutilating themselves with their own swords, to the Christian crucifixion, the flagellants of the Middle Ages, and the dervishes and fakirs of the Middle East, all are attempting to gain wisdom and special secret insight. It seems that nobody was free of this mystical mind-bending attempt to become one with God. Even Gnostic sects mirrored their Sufi Islamic counterparts and participated in self-abuse. If such practices are still prevalent within secret societies, and they are, then there is little wonder that they are kept secret. Incredible ceremonies can be found in the mysteries of Eleusis, the esoteric, secretive world of the Greeks. In fact, these secretive ceremonies originally derived from ancient Egypt, predating 1500 BC. In one such ceremony, the sacred phallus was erected, a device we know to have originated from Egypt due to the evidence of Clemens of Alexandria. The phallus represented the virile part of Osiris, which was cast into the Nile by Typhon, and to which Isis ordered sacrifices and offerings. It is in fact the IAO, or creative principle, worshipped from the very beginning by the Sabiists, pointing upright to the pole star and hence perfect balance. The phallus was a stone, seen in India as the Shiva Linga, or stone of Shiva. It was yet another representation of the stone of the philosophers, to rise again like the phoenix of the alchemists. Shiva, Osiris, or whatever we humans call it, we are in fact still talking about nature and the fallen heavenly light. Elements of all this, and much more, spread abroad and through time, and can still to this day be found within religions and secret occult orders. To go through them all would take forever, but what we have found so far can be broken down simply. The stars and planets were worshipped because they directed man. They offered him a means to measure and rule, a way to navigate and to tell the time of day and year. This heavenly process gave rise to the tales of Osiris and Isis, and much more. The sun and the moon and the cycle of life measured out by the gods. This powerful knowledge was jealously guarded. To participate with these deities, to communicate with them, man developed a means of altering his state of consciousness and believed he was truly one with God. These processes were related to the heavenly host which guided his way. The priesthood, who understood and developed this knowledge, were powerful, but required protection, and so elite warriors were developed and fostered. The royalty used the tools and power given to him by the gods via the priesthood, but a clever balancing act was required between the priesthood, royalty and military, and so intermediaries in the form of civil servants were created. These civil servants now had all the knowledge of the kings and priests, and could manipulate the military. The historical stage was set for a series of plays that would often end in bloodshed and revolution. It was led by an underground stream that crossed the outward religions of state. Sufi mystics wearing white and adorned with beards of wisdom matched their brothers in the Judaic Essene, the Druids of Europe, and later the Cistercians of Christianity. Each one sought out the divine light within, whether under the cover of Islam, Christianity, Gnosis or paganism, terms that are often more modern than not. Each one held sacred the light of the divine and utilised methods of raising the energy of light within themselves, which they symbolised with the serpent. And each one had a knowledge of the stars, navigation, measurement, and held sacred rocks and stones. The Sufis had their warrior brethren, known as the Ishmaelites, and fostered a series of degrees. According to the writer Springet, in his Secret Sects of Syria, the Sufis are a secret society of Persian mystics, philosophers and ascetics, whose original religion may have been that of the Sabaeans, or star worshippers. Also, the Sufis admitted to being able to secretly hold to their own faith, whilst professing outwardly the faith of their locality. Their initiation involved spending 40 days and nights in the wilderness to connect to the divine and become part of him, something mirrored with the Essene or Gnostics. The Essene, or early Gnostics, worshipped their heavenly host and were protected by the Chalcidians,